I started to go a little deeper into the understanding what are the songs about and trying to find out what are the stories behind the old folklore music, the stories which are told by people there.
We wanted to create some kind of a new folklore for 21st century, so I wanted to also transform folklore to more feminist and queer forms.
My name is Pixel.
My name is Adrián.
We are presenting a project which is called Ancestral Archeology, and we are in a Lunchmeat Festival in Prague, in the National Gallery. We met last year in Liptovský Mikuláš, and actually that time I was just thinking about starting this project and looking into it from the sound perspective.
It was more like I was making some project for school and I was interested with new folklore, and I was scrolling down through Nina's SoundClouds and I just found out the Slovak folklore songs which were transformed into techno versions of it, which was very appropriate.
The idea of the project is to offer alternative narrative to the classical folklore narrative which is given usually to us.
We wanted to create some kind of a new folklore for 21st century, and I realized that I really miss some queer people in folklore because it's quite really hidden, so I wanted to also transform folklore to more feminist and queer forms, which is very visible from the visuals.
So my setup is the sound part. I'm playing kind of traditional instruments, but in a way that I'm trying to just use them in a very different way. I also have a gong, which is making some metallic sounds. Then I have bowls, which I'm using also. Then there's some other structures. But then I have also, just out of curiosity as well, I took fujara and koncovka, which are very traditional instruments which were used mostly by the shepherds. Yeah. And then the other part are a lot of recordings from forests, from my travels in Slovakia. And then also there is the third part, which are actually the songs I sampled. That's why it's also, I see it as archaeology, because those samples are collected through all over the time, dug out of the ground, literally sometimes.
And my setup is that I really like working and filming with my friends who are very inspirative in a way, because I didn't want to use some professional actors for that, but the casting is very familiar with me, and everyone that was used there was queer. That's what we were trying to do. Everything was also their identities that are shown in the video are real, which I really like.
This topic is very recent in our culture now, or in our recent politics even in Slovakia, and folklore is used still in this heteronormative and in kind of very normative way, that this is how your body should look like, this is how your gender should look like, this is how you should behave in the classical way which belongs to the culture, and this is our culture, and that's not true. And we don't feel it like that. We feel that it's time to change them. It's time to change the narrative and just fill this empty space of this just form of folklore with something that is close to us, and which means for us forestal, weird, dark feelings. I started to go a little deeper into the understanding what are the songs about and trying to find out what are the stories behind the old folklore music and the stories which are told by people there. I was rewriting them also into the text, so there is material from the books about how to do magic and how to maybe transform the energy into something else what we want, because there is also a big history of, let's say, folklore magic or folklore witchcraft, which is rooted in our area as well, I guess in whole Europe. I started to also collect the ways how people used to do the witchcraft. So there were in area of our region there people used to, for example, whisper some different messages to the other people, and that was the way how they were witchcrafting. And then
yeah, and for me also the inspiration comes from paintings from Slovak painters from 30s, 40s, especially Fula, Cubist painter in Slovakia. And when I was in the gallery, I just realized that everything is very heteronormative. So that's why I also wanted to recreate those paintings into videos and recreate them also with new narratives.
I think this is what is making us connected, even though we didn't have to talk about it much, because we have the same feeling about that thing, and it's interesting because we can of course put it into some description of form and description of strategy and how I deconstructed the instruments or how I work the words, but then there is this prevalent feeling which is forestal, dark, rotten, creepy feeling, which is, I think, ultimate sync for us.